welcome to Talent Bus, where I talk with SaaS companies on how they are doing their talent acquisition. In today's episode, I'm joined by David, co-owner of Refapp, and today we are talking about things you can automate in your talent acquisition. And let's start the episode with job ads and job families and how you can do things more efficiently on that part of your recruitment.
Yeah, I think it's very important due to many things. First of all, due to efficiency. When I worked as a recruiter, it was always a matter of time to get out that have that job ad out on the job boards as soon as possible, because you're always late in recruitment, right? So I think it's very important that you create your job ads, but that is there's a pre-work you need to do before, and that's more or less to create your job families or stuff like that. When you work as a recruiter or a talent acquisition manager, mainly now I would say as an internal recruiter, where you probably have some typical roles that you almost that you hire mostly. That would be your generic job family, and all those job analysis you need to do in the forecast and put a lot of effort in, because that's where the whole validity, especially in the recruitment, is. How can we be sure that we hire the right person? That needs a good preparation of with the talent acquisition, and when all people that are involved in that, and that process is something that you can't hurry up in. You need to do that very structured and very good. So that is the first work you do, that you create your job family with job analysis that you do for your specific roles that you mostly hire for. And when that work is done, you probably will be able to create a job ads out of that. So my when I worked as a recruiter, as a recruitment consultant at a big staffing agency, we always try to get that meeting. Of course, first startup meeting with the recruitment manager and talk about what is this type of job, what type of job analysis do we need to do for this. And I would say for 85-90%, it was always, here's the former job ad that we used last time. Please just use that, and we go ahead. And that is not a good way of working, because time changed. What was that a good job ad in the first place? So back to your question then. A good job ad should be reflected in the job analysis that you've done. So that's an important thing to create that. But the second most important thing is it should also be a sales pitch in some way. You would like to address this information to candidates, and then you need to do what you do in marketing and whatever when you try to sell something. Do a pitch that you think is relevant for the audience that you are trying to achieve. So I would say those two things is the most important in a job ad. You need to have a job analysis done, so you know what you would like to recruit. And the second thing is to write the job ad in a way that is attractive for the candidates to keep reading, because I think candidates are pretty much the same as recruiters. We when we read a CV, we tend to do that in a few seconds. Then we move on. We already have our opinion about the candidate after a few seconds. I think the science say it's was it 4 or 6 seconds that you have to attract the recruiter. I think it's the opposite for the job ad as well. You have a few seconds for the attention span for the candidate, and then you need to do that pitch right away in the job ad.
Yeah, I agree on that one. And one thing that I've been lately studying a bit is actually how to make, for example, job ad more visual, because most of companies are still using only kind of written job ads. So how to make it visual, how to use, for example, videos from, let's say, future colleagues on on those? I think that's a good question. And then basically what comes to the kind of, you mentioned the term job family. What we typically, when we work with customers, where the process starts from is kind of the profile definition. And what is kind of interesting on that one is we use a tool called typeform, which you can use basically for asking anything. But over there, we have built kind of profile definition questions for different roles. So let's say if a SaaS company is hiring a salesperson, or if they are hiring a developer, we have different questions over there. We are sending that type form to our customers. And let's say that we are sending that to their HR lead, then their, let's say, head of sales, and their founder, if they're looking for a salesperson. And then you ask the same question for everyone, like, hey, why we need this person? What are the three must-have things in this person? Why this person should be joining your company? And I've never seen the same answers from all those different people. So I think the first part is very important to make sure that you are aligned on what you are looking for, rather than just copy-pasting the old job ad that you've been using in the previous roles, whether it's 6 months, 12 months ago, because job market is changing super rapidly as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when you really got that information out and get to ask those questions, it always become a great discussion then with the different managers or the key stakeholders in the process, because they often not prepare themselves in this way to discuss this. And then we have great conversations about what is nice to have and need to have in this job. So that's why what I meant about the job analysis, that is the job analysis work that you mentioned there about type. Great way. And that makes it also very structured. Structure is always better to do things in a more structured way than in an ad hoc bias way, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned there earlier that recruitments are typically always late. And that is actually one of the kind of enemies that we are kind of fighting against. And I think there is a better way. And one of the ways that we are, for example, doing for us is kind of building kind of talent pools, talent pipelines, whatever you want to kind of call that one. And I think that is something that really helps you do your job in a better way. And I think there is this common kind of maybe mistake that a lot of companies are doing, that they are just kind of pushing more and more candidates to their talent pools, but then they are not kind of, an ongoing base building a relationship with them. And I think there are some things that you can kind of automate in building a talent pool, but in a long run, if you want to get some great result, it also kind of demands one-to-one communications with those candidates. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think we can have a great discussion here, because my opinion about talent pools, and I think we probably think the same thing, but I use different words in this, because my opinion about talent pool, when I worked like 10 years ago, when I was a recruiter for a big staffing firm, we always bragged on about how many candidates we had in our talent pool, 10,000 of candidates in our talent pool, and that is the wrong question to ask, because talent pools is like fresh fruit. You have your window of opportunity of hiring a candidate in a certain time when the candidate is actually looking for a job, and when you are connecting to a talent pool, that's a very good sign of interest in working for you. But I think this is a bit combined with, so I would say that talent pools are not working. We didn't use that talent pool in a good way for that staffing company, because we didn't keep them warm in our talent pool, because that's what you need to do, and that's what I think we mostly today call employer branding, because that is what it all is about, to keep the candidate informed, to keep do marketing for the candidate about why is it good to work here. And it's really great if you get the candidate into a community in some way. And this is something that most applicant tracking systems nowadays have in some way, a connect button or something like to connect to your company. And that's the great way of working with your talent pool in the future. If you get someone into that that pool, if we call it a pool then, but you really need to work with that. So I think you probably, from your background within marketing, I think you see the same questions there. How can we keep up our interaction with a customer, in this case with a candidate? So you need to do stuff all the time and that's really hard work to do that in a good way, and you need to put a lot of effort to have great employer branding. Does it make sense with the employer branding and talent to pool definition there?
Yeah, I think it does. I think the employer branding part is, of course, something that, for example, you can use on social media and just kind of be top of mind for those people. But then I think one of the strongest ways that we have, for example, used for kind of building talent pools is like building a community around those people. So if you're just posting on social media, most likely you won't be actually creating a community between those people. And for example, how we have done this one in Talent B, like we are planning to scale quite fast. We don't know exactly when we can hire people. So it's super crucial that we have those people kind of ready to join us at some point. So, for example, we are having a kind of monthly session with all of those. And we did actually have one today morning. And we basically have the same structure on all of those monthly sessions. In our monthly sessions, it's basically recruiters and employer branding specialists who are kind of participating there. They are working in some other company, but they are interested in working with us in the future. And we always have this structure where we share our business situation super openly, like where we are going in Talent B. When are we hiring? Do we have a sales case in the pipeline? Are we growing? And so forth. And then we always have a chosen topic that we discuss with those people. For example, today it was pirate metrics in talent acquisition. We gave an kind of intro to the topic. And then after that one, we had some workshop around that topic. So people can be participating, learning new things. And it's a kind of monthly session, 1 hour. Doesn't take that much of our time, doesn't take that much of the candidate's time, but really it's built a community. It builds the feeling that they really want to join us someday if we are able to teach them something new, kind of create this kind of fear of missing out actually if they won't be joining us. So I think kind of FOMO, as we say is kind of super interesting, I think.
Yeah, and that's perfectly done, I would say, because that's what it is about, what you're talking about here, to actually give something back to. Why should I be in your talent pool? I need something back from you, and if you can present me with insights, and of course you should do that within the domain that you think that you are good in. So I've heard about many, and I also worked for a IT consultancy firm that was really good in doing this, to actually have specific webinar or sessions about the area that they are good in, and got their you can call it talent pool. We didn't call it back then, but that's what it is, more or less, to attract them, to keep them warm with different type of activities. And activities doesn't necessarily mean the way you did. That's very good, of course, but it takes a lot of effort from you. But you can create newsletters that are insights, etc. So you can do small things also to keep them in active in the talent pool.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways on doing that one. One thing that as a salesperson I'm very used to is kind of using different tools for making outreach. So there are tools basically where I have my kind of prospect list, and then I have a kind of outreach sequence where I might have some kind of stuff on LinkedIn, sending a connect request, sending a message. Then I might have some stuff on email, some stuff on phone, some stuff on sending a video or something like that. And I think that is something that I personally believe that will come to talent acquisition in the upcoming years. Of course, I can understand the difference between sales and recruitment. And it might be that in sales, it's more okay to have, let's say, 10, 15 different touch points. But then as a recruiter, if you send multiple messages on LinkedIn, call, email, send text messages, it might come forward as a little bit aggressive. But what do you think on that? Do you believe that in the future outreach will be automated mostly?
Absolutely, but it's important that it's done with some touch, because when I worked as a recruiter, I was doing that within the IT sector, and that's very hot, as you know, and a lot of candidates are outreached from recruiters. And I would say that most recruiters do that quite bad in the way that they perform a standardized message that isn't adaptive. You don't sell the specific why are you the best candidate for this position. So I think that's something where we really haven't today, I would say, found how we can create that more in a personal way. But absolutely, you need to do a lot of outreach. I think I saw a study from LinkedIn. It was probably 10 years ago, but then you needed 8 touch points on a candidate to get their attention. And I would say most recruiters that work with headhunting don't do that. But touch points doesn't really mean just sending emails or whatever to the candidate. It's also about what we discussed here before with connecting them into certain social media, get them follow you on your career page, etc. But it's very important to do that. And within the recruitment business, I think a buzzword right now is recruitment marketing, because we look a lot at how marketing has developed last 20 years in a more digital way, a more efficient way, more automated way. And that is something that recruitment really hasn't followed up with. And we are doing pretty much the same thing. We're trying to outreach to a candidate or a customer. It's pretty much the same. So we have a lot to learn there, but there are a lot of tools that you can use to automate your process and to work good. But I think it's very important that you do it also and put yourself into the candidate's perspective. If I get an email that looks like this, hey, I see you have C# in your LinkedIn profile, then you probably are interested in working for us. That's not good enough. It's even if you did some work about finding C# and that you need to find more things that could adapt the candidate to be interested in your position then. And that's often things that you can do in a semi-automated way by using tools to find the candidate in different social medias, etc. To see that, oh, on GitHub you wrote this within C#. Okay, then maybe I could address that, and then you probably need to do some more work with in a manual way, but that's where I think technique and human behaviors are important to match each other, to find ways. When is it okay for me to use tech tools to get it more automated, more efficient, and when do I need to put time into being more human, being more interacting with the candidate? And that's always a discussion you should have within your talent acquisition team. What can we automate? What can we be more efficient in? What do we need to have in a more clear communication with the candidate? Did I answer really on the question there? Yeah, maybe, but yeah, there's absolutely a way of doing the outreach in a better way, and that's where I see talent acquisition is moving quite fast forward right now.
It is, and one thing that, for example, like I've been stealing from sales is in sales I used to send a lot of videos for potential customers, and we've been now trying to send videos to potential candidates here in Talent B, and that is actually working extremely well, utilizing personalized videos over there. It of course does take time to do those ones, but eventually you are creating a super great candidate experience, getting great results from there. So that is really working well for us. And what comes to the kind of recruitment marketing, totally, I'm a big believer of of them. We actually don't do any kind of one-off recruitment project without doing recruitment marketing on the side. So I think that is super crucial. And if you do it correctly, you can get some great results from there. We actually just worked with one customer on a senior developer search and did some recruitment marketing over there. And through that one, got one super great candidate with a lot of experience from that side of the business. And basically, I think on that case, it was a kind of blog post about kind of their culture and why developers enjoy working in that company. And that person had noticed that kind of part of their recruitment marketing. And yeah, big believer of that one.
Yeah, and because when you say it like that, yeah, we can absolutely use video technique like salespeople do a lot to outreach, but that's when you have your funnel. In marketing, you usually talk about a funnel about, yeah, in our way, then the candidate pool. So the first outreach that you do is to get is quite big. You outreach in certain search words, you do some Google AdWords, or you do some marketing in different ways, and you see what talents are looking into our ads, and then you do some more outreach to that. When you come to the point where you said you read the blog post, then maybe that's when you have like 10-15 candidates in your pipeline that you think these are the most interesting candidates to address. Then you need to do some manual work by doing a personal video, for instance, or a personal message about why we would like to discuss recruitment with you or hiring you in a more certain way. So, and that's what I think is a lot of talent acquisition team hasn't really think about, that they just say, oh, look, I created 1,000 emails now, so I've done my work. Yeah, but that's it's not the outcome in how many emails you can produce. It's the outcome of how many candidates do I have in my actual recruitment process.
Yeah, exactly like that. And one thing that kind of is important kind of when you are getting those people to your recruitment process is basically the communication over there. And I think a lot of companies have kind of at least somewhat kind of mastered the interviews, like, hey, what I should be asking in interviews, how I should be selling the company in the interviews. But I think something where there would be a lot of potential is actually what is happening between those interviews and discussions with candidates, for example. What kind of messaging you should be using there, whether it's text messaging, email, and so forth. And I actually believe that in future, talent acquisition teams will have a professional copywriter in their team for those purposes, for writing better job ads and so forth. But do you agree with that one?
Absolutely, yeah, very much. I think it was interesting. We did a survey. We had a webinar with an influencer in UK, Hung Lee, and did a survey about, because the topic was what is a good recruiter mainly, yeah, and what are the behaviors that a good recruiter should have, and everyone in the survey answered behaviors like social skills, good communication skills, or listening skills in a more verbal way, not in a written way. And I don't really think that's the future of the recruiter. The future of a recruiter is more data driven. They should be very analytic, because it's going to be more and more data driven recruitment processes. And also, as you say, more into fine tuning what communication works. Like a copywriter, you A/B test everything you communicate. This works good, then we keep up with that. This didn't work, we tune that a little bit. And that's how you fine tune your recruitment process. So it's very important, absolutely, to communicate the way you would like to do that makes sense with your brand, because is important, and that we talk about a lot in marketing. How are we communicating our brand? Very important in the recruitment process as well, but also to actually do communication. There's a lot of we have some friends within the candidate experience business within talent acquisition that do a lot of research on or asking their candidates, how do you believe the communication has been during the recruitment process. And there's a lot of gap about even communicating at all. What is happening in the process? What happened after the interview? Are we so? And that's, of course, put a lot of effort into you that you actually can create that in a very good automated way. When the interview is done, there's an automated email going out. Thanks for the interview about, what we discussed, and fine tune those messages all the time. So the candidate are always informed about what is happening, what is the next step in the recruitment process. When am I supposed to get back from you? That's also very important to address with a specific date or a date range anyway, how soon we can, because otherwise you lose the candidates, and it's so easy to do this, but so many don't do anything about this. So that's very important, I would say.
I'm a big believer of super open communication during the recruitment process. One of the things is kind of the timing. So if you notice that you are unable to make the hiring decision in the data you used to kind of share with the candidates, you should super openly share that one as well. So open communication is crucial. Hey, what you guys do at Refapp is kind of automate part of reference checks. So typically, in the end of the recruitment process, companies do want to speak with some reference person, and I think a lot of people think that you should do that one in person, and you cannot automate that one. But why do you believe that you can automate that one, and how you should do that one without going to super long pitch or demo of your product right now, but just quickly?
Am I not? Yeah, okay. I try to do that. Yeah, but I think just the perspective about the reference checking process. When I worked, my last job before Refapp was that I was the process owner, head of the process of the recruitment process in a big staffing agency in the Nordics, and yeah, it's always hard to increase prices. So I was looking how can I be more efficient in our recruitment process. And one of the big bottlenecks in the recruitment business is the reference checking. It's so time consuming to get the candidate to get out the referees, to ask for the referees and get them the contact details from them, and then reach out to the references, because we are in a more and more digital society, or more on-demand society. When I try to call the references, they wouldn't like to discuss with me during working hours. They were free after 6 o'clock in the evening. Then I was able to call them. So it was a huge step in a recruitment process that wasn't really adaptive to the new normal in the society. So that was the biggest mistake, we thought. And how can we do this better? Yeah, we probably could do this more digital to be more efficient. So that was the main reason why we did that. But during our years now, we also realized that when we do reference checking in a more digital way, you also get more structured, and by that also increase bias. And bias is very hard for creating a good recruitment process, or with a recruitment process with high validity. We talk about it within the science industry, within recruitment. So validity is pretty much how well can this process step predict future behavior or future performance on a candidate. And then reference checking hasn't really been in a good level there, because it's been so much bias within it. We haven't really been structured with doing the reference call, and then by then we are not able to really compare the candidates between each other, because we don't ask the same questions, and we get a lot of extra more information about the candidate than we need within the recruitment process. So by standardizing and doing it more structured, we all also increase the validity. So, and that's a lot of things within the recruitment process. I say that automation is also often good for your process to get less bias, more efficient, more structured, and then also higher validity. So I think always look into your recruitment process. What can we do to be more efficient? Because that's we're going to be all the time. We need to develop our processes. And what are the process steps that I mentioned before, where we can use technology to be to produce that, and even produce better insights or better information. And in what process steps do we still need to be in contact, in a human contact with the candidate? And I think that's not always the same in all processes. It's always different. What type of recruitment are you doing? If you're headhunting a candidate, maybe you need to put some more effort in being more human, more personalized in the early beginning of the process to really catch the candidate. And in high volume recruitment, you can pretty much do as much automation you need to do to be structured as well. So, yeah. Big answer on that question, but I think that's one of the things that we realized during our years with Refapp about. It's not just to be more efficient; it's also about we can do things better, because we can ask more referees, so we get more information about the candidate, and that's always better to have more data.
Agree on that one, and I think kind of basically what comes after the reference check, if you decide to hire a person, like of course the contract phase is something you can automate quite much. For example, I've been building our stuff on top of PandaDoc, so it's kind of super easy, super fast. It creates also a good brand experience for the candidate. But then one thing that I believe that a lot of companies are missing a lot of opportunities, and where we could steal from SaaS companies and how they're doing their marketing, is basically onboarding. And for example, there's typically a lot of time between person signing the contract and person starting within your company. And I've heard multiple times these stories when person is actually not starting eventually. So then after a few weeks, they say that, hey, I got a better offer from my current place or something like that. And I think a lot of that stuff could be prevented with some proper onboarding in between there. And I think there can be, I of course understand you cannot start kind of a proper onboarding like, hey, let's go through our sales process already before you have started. Not like that. But for example, your future colleague calling like, hey, I'm just ordering your phone and laptop. Which color would you like to have? Or getting an access to, let's say, one of the company's Slack channel, or getting an access to company Notion where there is introduction of all the people that you will be working with, or something like that. And I think there's a lot of stuff you could automate over there and kind of build process around that one.
Yeah, and that's a part of your employer brand as well. So I think, and I've heard a lot of companies that are actually doing this quite good, because at Refapp we invite from the signing date, we invite you to all the social stuff that we are doing, and we have a quite structured way in the onboarding process that we have a like a Trello board about the whole onboarding process, and we have the step pre-onboarding before starting date. What do we do then? Yeah, things that you say, of course, we order a computer, a phone, etc. But also some other things about what is the policy documents we have about employment handbook, etc. All those stuff, and what I said also about all the social stuff that we do. Treat the candidate as an employee right away from the sign the contract. Of course, you shouldn't share any confirmation stuff that you're not able to do before they are actually starting, but everything else I think you should be very open about and connect with. Yeah, and absolutely that can absolutely be automated in some way also, if you have set up good tools for that. Especially reminders about now it's time to contact and that's just do like a calendar slots in your calendar that this date I will call about this date I will do this, and that's very easy to do. You don't need any fancy tools. Just need to think a little bit and have some kind of process thinking about how do we onboard it like this. Yeah. It's good that you are really thinking about this within your own company as well. That's great.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you got a lot of good ideas about SaaS talent acquisition. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to share it on your social so others can hear it too. And if you have a topic in mind that you would like me to cover in this podcast, share it with me as well. I'm Samuli, CEO and co-founder in TalentBee, where we help fast-growing SaaS companies in their talent acquisition. Make sure to follow us, make sure to follow this podcast, and have an awesome week. Bye-bye.